Cool.
Okay. We'll call the meeting to order. The clerk will take the roll.
Cindy? Cindy, can you hear us?
Ooh.
Jay?
Here.
Eric?
Here.
Mark? Nancy?
Yes.
Kurt?
Present.
Right now.
Bob?
Here. Good.
Thank you.
That's better than Cindy.
Oh, Cindy and Mark are, no, Cindy's here, Mark's excused.
And Kurt is on the phone.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Voluntary pledge. Pledge.
Voluntary pledge.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, minutes.
So moved. Second.
Any objections? Any changes? Hearing none, so ordered. And now, are there any amendments to the meeting agenda? Hearing none, so it'll stay. Public hearing, adjusting the fiscal year 2017 budget for known changes. Ordinance number 2016-09. Does anybody wish to address this? Okay, bid awards, there are none. Visitors' views related to the agenda. Do you want to speak now or wait till the item comes up? Mm-hmm.
Hello, Katie from Petersburg Indian Association Tobacco Prevention, and I still have a couple things I would like to have addressed about the smoke-free ordinance. First, I'd like to ask you all a few questions. Did you guys all walk through our front door this morning, downstairs, PI, to come into the assembly meeting? Yes? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, if I were to be chain smoking all day out in front of our front door within 5 feet, how would you feel? Would you guys have issues about the smell? Would you have a hard time breathing if the doors are wide open because it's nice and hot? The smoke would be coming inside. Would you have a problem with the smoke coming inside the doors? Yes? I'm assuming you'd have maybe some sort of issues. Jay, when you're coming in with your son, if I'm or somebody else is outside chain smoking, would that bother you to have your son see someone chain smoking and having your son breathe in all that secondhand smoke? Would that bother you?
Of course it would. I'm going to respond to you. But I think there's a difference between, like we talked about last time, that's not something that we're going to be the law enforcement is going to be enforcing. What I would say is, as an organization, why wouldn't PI have a policy saying no smoking within 10 feet of our building and enforce it as an agency or any business in town?
Well, like...
Of course nobody wants to smell that.
So if we're 20 feet, which is our PIA, if you may not even see me, I might even go around to the side of the building, and there's two options of coming in, so you could either come in from either the right or the left. The smoke would not be coming inside the building, so you may not even notice it at all. I don't see it as being a difference being here at our building or any other business like the trading union or Hammer Week on the grocery store or the Harbor Bar or Keto's. It doesn't matter if the smoke is coming inside the building and bothering people who do not smoke. And as you were saying, you don't want to make it a law that you don't want to have to enforce and call our police the nicotine police. This type of law is it's a self-enforced law with proper signage and education to the community. They would, if we change it and we, let people know, people will see the signs and they will self-enforce. So maybe right now it's 5 feet. If we can get it up to 25 feet, people will follow the laws. So hopefully that will, I'm hoping we can change that to extend the distance. And another note, I would, after the July 3rd events, we had lots of people downtown. We also had lots of people smoking in and around the crowds. I was hoping we could have smoke-free community events, if we could add that to the agenda, or either add that to the agenda or to the smoke-free ordinance.
Is there something in the ordinance already about not smoking in crowded outdoor gatherings like that?
It doesn't clearly state no smoking in community events.
Says something about standing in line, even 5 feet from line while you're waiting to go into a, I thought I read it. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Just, I would strongly encourage you guys to please rethink about changing the smoking distance for the outdoor areas, and not just think of, the outdoor entrances. I would like the to be considered separately and not bulked into just one, because you guys just keep bringing it back down onto the harbor bar. Like, there's more places than the harbor bar that are being affected. Like, there are restaurants, I know the Glacier Express, that they do not want to have smokers near their entrance and their outdoor seating areas. I'm sure there's other outdoor seating areas where they would not like to have smoking anywhere near there. So the areas would be the outdoor areas, the outdoor seating, and like the outdoor playgrounds to be extended. Thank you.
Thank you. Margie?
My name is Marge Oinus. I'm speaking for myself. I really like the idea that, I forget her name, just presented the idea of smoke-free events in the city. I had a booth right next to the harbor bar, which I knew it was there and I knew there would be smoking, but it was one of the few that was left. And then when the Vikingettes came, they asked to be changed to be closer to the bar, so they moved me further back, which was fine. But the smoking right around there, at least for the booth, was we were quite aware in my booth that there was a lot of smoking. So I like the idea of 25 feet. I think people do try and respect the 5 feet rule. But I like her idea and the idea of a smoke-free events. I think that's a really good thing to try. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Visitors' views related to agenda items? Visitors' views unrelated to the agenda. Anybody care to speak? Okay, board, commission, and committee reports. There are none. Nothing on the consent agenda. Report of other officers. The mayor's report. The borough is still seeking letters of interest from borough residents willing to serve on the following boards and commissions until October 2016 at the municipal election. The hospital board has one vacant seat. Planning and zoning commission has one vacant seat. Letters of interest may be addressed to the borough clerk and emailed to dthompson@petersburgak.gov. Mailed to P.O. Box 329, Petersburg, AK 99833, or dropped off at the Borough Administration Building in the PIA Building at 15 North 12th. Filing for candidacy for the October 4th, 2016 election. The first day to file for candidacy for an open board, commission, or assembly seat in the October election is July 26, 2016. An election report with a list of open seats is provided by Clerk Thompson under Report of Other Officers on this agenda. The state of Alaska has offered to transfer ownership of the Papke's Landing Dock, the Kupernoff Dock, and the Entrance Island Dock to the Petersburg Borough, along with a lump sum payment of $732,883 toward deferred maintenance. Condition assessments were recently performed that estimates the cost to bring the Papke's Landing Dock to a safe and usable condition at $1,050,000 and $1,395,000 for the Kupernoff Dock. The Borough Assembly is seeking input from the community regarding acceptance or denial of the state's offer. A questionnaire on the issue is available for printing off the Borough's website or can be picked up at any Borough office from the City of Kupernoff clerk or from the Papke's Landing Public Notice Board. And we'd like to say thank you to all the citizens of Petersburg, everyone who responded to our recent tragedy with care and respect. We are a town that steps up when times are tough and takes care of each other. Together we are strong.
Mayor, can I interrupt for a second? Mm-hmm. We skipped over the report of other officers, Mindy's election report.
Oh, okay.
I'll read that when you're done. Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the 2016 election report from our borough clerk, Deborah Thompson. She asked me to read it into the record. The annual municipal election will be held Tuesday, October 4th, 2016. This year's ballot will provide for the election of 19 elected positions as follows. Mayor, a 3-year term. 2 assembly members, each 3-year terms. 2 school board members, each 3-year terms. 4 hospital board members, 3 3-year terms and 1 2-year term. 3 planning commissioners, 2 3-year terms and 1 1-year term. 2 library board members, 2 3-year terms. 2 harbor board members, both 3-year terms. 3 public safety board members, 2 3-year terms, 1 2-year term. Public officials' financial disclosure reporting will not be required due to the public's vote to opt out in 2015. To date, there is one possible proposition to be placed on the ballot if the Assembly chooses to adopt Ordinance 2016-10, the question of opting out of marijuana establishments within the Petersburg Borough. The first day to file for candidacy is Wednesday, July 26th. Nominating petitions and declaration of candidacy forms can be obtained from the front desk of the Finance Office during normal business hours or online at the Borough's website. The last day to file for candidacy is 5:00 p.m. August 23rd. The last day to qualify and register to vote at the election is September 4. Individuals can obtain voter registration forms at the Borough offices. Last year's election officials were Catherine Harris, Mary Leonard, Chad Wright, and Erica Warhatch. Borough Clerk Thompson will be contacting them soon regarding this year's election duties. That's the end of the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I believe it's City Manager's report. Carl?
Okay, there's a number of things I'm pleased to provide to the Assembly today. I actually asked the staff to keep it short, and we still ended up with 3 pages, so I apologize for that. First of all, thank you to the community of Petersburg for the outpouring of support and well wishes for the Giesbrecht family, the Parks family, the Allen family, and the Cardenas family following the accident of July 4th. Petersburg is truly a special place to live. We witnessed many friends, parents, teachers, members of the clergy and their congregations, various organizations, counselors, and the local media put their arms around those affected by the accident, and this deserves recognition. Special thanks to the members of our police, fire, and EMS departments for the outstanding professional response to this emotional event. EMS Director Sandy Dixon reports that the fire and EMS departments have been able to have 3 debriefings for the first responders to the accident scene, and thanks to the community for the understanding of the impacts that events such as this have on our emergency personnel. The Alaska Bureau of Investigations has taken over the case and on the accident, and all future information about the accident will be coming from their organization. We should expect the report to be complete within 30 to 60 days. Belated welcome to Chandra Thornburg, new Parks and Recreation Director. Chandra faced one of the biggest challenges imaginable over the Independence Day weekend and handled it remarkably well. We are very happy to have her on staff, and a special note from her, as in quotes, "The Borough staff are amazing. Thank you for your support during this challenging time, and thank you for accepting me into the community with open hearts." So, welcome. We thank Parks and Recreation staff, the Chamber of Commerce, and Nathan Lopez and the Lighthouse Church for stepping up to manage many of the events on July 2nd and 3rd this year. Nathan's leadership at the Candlelight Vigil for Marie and Molly was especially appreciated. Film and Records Management System training is underway and going well. We will be going live with the new system on 7/19, which is tomorrow. Police, fire, EMS, and community development mapping technician have all been spending time getting ready for the startup of the system. Chief Swihart and Investigator Rossi attended the community meeting on drug abuse on June 16th, and more meetings are planned for the future. Property tax notices went out July 1st. Taxes will be due on September 30th this year. Tara Alcock successfully managed the completion of the landscaping project at the library. Reed Brothers Construction did a fantastic job with the project. Parks and Recreation employees Jesse and Pam, with help from other volunteers, have completed the library grounds plantings and are nurturing the beds. The library's celebration on July 2nd was attended by over 100 people. They cut the ribbon on the new Centennial Park. Polly Lee was the donating party of the land, cut the ribbon. They celebrated the completion of the landscaping project and honored the artists who have all have work displayed at the library. Special thanks goes to Sue Paulson and the Friends of the Library for making this event a great success. The Drive Down Bulkhead project is on schedule. Tamco subcontractor Rock and Road completed the dredging on the series of minus tides last weekend, waiting on material delivery to begin the sheet pile dock construction. Harbor staff has also been working with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Alaska District on a potential South Harbor Basin dredge. The Corps has scheduled a teleconference with the staff on July 22nd. Liz Cabrera has also been working with the Corps, with Corps staff that are evaluating the cost benefit of the project. Many thanks to our fleet and the public. The Nordhaven 2 Alaska Rendezvous last week was a huge success. There were 32 vessels varying from 40 to 76 feet in length, spending 4 or 5 days in town. And the group thoroughly enjoyed our community and were very appreciative of the hospitality. This week, the Sail Alaska group of a dozen sailboats have stopped in to regroup and provision as they make their way through Southeast. Power and Light has hired Sam Collum as their new apprentice lineman. Sam had been working for Public Works for a number of years, so now Public Works will be advertising for an open position very soon. Power and Light has also received their new service truck and is working out very well. It's a little more length, and it's making it easier for them to do their job around town. Sheila Bell reports that the last AHFC inspection at the manor was scored at 100%, so great job Sheila and her staff for that. Liz Cabrera completed 2 grant applications for replacement of the South Harbor ramps with ADA compliant ramps, and Glorianne will submit them for agency consideration. Little update from PEDC. 2 years ago, PEDC helped organize crowdfunding for a local trawler to upgrade equipment on his vessel through Kiva Zip. $5,000 in funding was raised in a week by contributions from people all over the world. The loan was paid off this month, so congratulations to all who were involved with that project. Liz and Gloria Ann met with Dick Somerville, P&D, regarding Scow Bay development for preliminary discussions, gathering data, imagery, et cetera, for the project. Expect public meetings for that project to occur this October. Public Works has been working on utility and culvert work in advance of local street paving. Crew will support Seacon's paving prep with hauling of crushed rock as needed for road surface preparation. Wastewater staff has been working with Alan Murph, PE, on the design of composting slab, and the design appears to be complete. Next steps in that project will be sorting out contracting for the slab work. Water Department staff recently worked with the Alaska Rural Water Association to locate a substantial water main leak at about 2 Mile Metcalf Highway, and Public Works helped to fix that leak. Motor Pool is planning a surplus vehicle and equipment sealed bid auction later this month. Municipal building renovations project remains on schedule. The contractor is almost done with demolition of the site and has started building back the facility in some areas. Interior slab work is complete, as is underground drain plumbing. Second floor framing is set to commence this week. The contractor on that project did run into some suspected soil contamination, and I've been working through the issue with help from an environmental consultant from Haynes and ADC. Soils issues have mostly been dealt with, but there remains to be some storm drain work that will require the consultant to be on site for monitoring and sampling during excavation. To date, 10 cubic yards of contaminated soil have been hauled to Public Works and segregated with tarps for disposal. CBC Construction has mobilized back to town and will be completing the work on the Pump Station 1 Force Main Project, Phase 2. This work will upgrade 2 sewer pump stations and decommission the old force main on the South Harbor Beach. And lastly, Seacon continues to progress towards paving of South Nordic and Haugen bike path. I'm sure everybody in town knows that today. Mm-hmm. Paving crew will be in Petersburg tomorrow, on grade tomorrow, working. Obviously today they started grinding the surface on South Nordic. They've done a lot of prep on Borough roads, and this week we'll see a lot of these roads coming back into shape. So I know it's disruptive right now, but it'll be a short-term thing, and things will be looking up in the near future. That's the report. Any questions?
Thanks.
Unfinished business, ordinances for third and final reading. Do we vote on all three of these at the same time or separately?
Separately, please.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance 2016-06, an ordinance adding marijuana regulations to chapter 6.04, alcoholic beverages and marijuana.
So move.
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Discussion.
Oh, is there any discussion?
Sure. Is that all right if I go? We've been through this a couple of times, and I guess I'm shifting gears in my own mindset right now in terms of what this will mean for our community. Pass this ordinance right now, it becomes commercially legal in Petersburg, and then depending on when the special election or the October election for the opt-out comes out, then we'll decide where this plays out in Petersburg. But something that I think I must mention is, regardless of we pass this ordinance or pass this ordinance and vote to opt out in October, marijuana is legal in Alaska. Marijuana is legal in Petersburg, whether we opt out or not. Period. We cannot make marijuana illegal in any part of Alaska. Period. There's no special ordinance or rule we could do. It just cannot happen. That is state law, regardless of what we do as Petersburg. And I would just give something for consideration for people as this time draws closer when we decide as a community. This ordinance, and I think it's a very carefully crafted and thoughtful ordinance, makes it a point to regulate very strictly commercial sales of marijuana in Petersburg. By choosing to opt out, if that's what we so choose to do, we will, by default, if we choose to opt out, saying we don't want to regulate this, we are supporting the financial interests of illegal drug dealers. And if you break it down, that's not an exaggeration, that's just real. By opting out, we are saying we don't want to regulate and control this. We would rather have the pockets be lined of illegal drug dealers. And I can't abide that. And I think if we give it thoughtful consideration, most members of the community don't think that way either. So tying that into the ordinance, I will definitely be voting for this ordinance because it is thoughtful and very regulatory and will help legal marijuana in Petersburg be safe and commercially viable. That's all.
Anybody else? Okay. So we are going to vote on it now? The clerk will call the roll.
Eric,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
It passes unanimously. Ordinance 2016-07, an ordinance adding fines for marijuana violations to Chapter 1.16, general penalty and interest. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
That's a motion to pass it. Okay. Does anybody have any comment? The clerk will call the roll.
Jay,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Yes.
Nancy, Cindy.
Yes.
Okay, it passes unanimously. Ordinance 2016-08, an ordinance amending Chapter 9.32 of the Borough Code, the Smoke-Free Air Act of 2010, and amending Chapter 912 of the Borough Code, littering, by amending the definition of litter. I will entertain a motion to pass this.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, the clerk will call the roll.
Bob,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Cindy.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Then an ordinance in second reading. An ordinance adjusting fiscal year 2017 budget for known changes. I will entertain a motion to approve this.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? The clerk will call the roll.
Jay,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes. Okay, it passes unanimously. New business. Presentation to the Assembly of Certified Citizens Initiative petition to submit to borough voters the question of prohibiting marijuana establishments in the Petersburg Borough. Is that the same as opting out?
Well, this is an explanation of what would happen if the initiative petition went to the special vote, or to a special election, and then explaining that the Assembly has the option of placing it on the regular ballot.
Okay.
It'll go to a ballot, either special or the regular. So I think this is the explanation of that.
Okay. Do we need to read it aloud?
Certainly could. Would you like me to read it?
Please.
Okay. A citizens' initiative petition to submit to the qualified voters of the Petersburg Borough the question of prohibiting marijuana establishments in the borough on a municipal election ballot was filed on June 27, 2016, and certified by Clerk Thompson as in good form and sufficient on July 9, 2016. The petition contains 434 valid borough voter signatures. The amount of borough voter signatures needed for sufficiency was 104. The petition was filed and certified less than 180 days before the date of the next regular election on August 4, 2016, thereby requiring a special election be held within 90 days of certification. 90 days from July 9th is October 7, 2016. The Assembly has the opportunity to adopt an ordinance under Section 2.44.080 to place the question proposed by the initiative petition on the regular municipal election ballot, thereby avoiding the need for and cost of a special election if desired.
Thank you. Anybody have any comments?
Yeah, just, let me, a point of order here first, is that I believe that only one of the 6 of us who voted in favor can now make an amendment to put, or make a motion to put this on the ballot, and it has to be seconded by one of those 6.
I don't know, but I do believe I heard Debbie say that, yes.
And do we, excuse me,
I think that's correct, too.
I think I heard discussion that way, yeah.
and this, so
Go ahead. Go ahead, Nancy.
are we voting on this and voting on the next thing as well, or we
I'm sorry.
we just
The
do
first
one
looks
vote?
informative, and then the second is the ordinance saying you would put it on the regular election ballot.
Okay, so now we're informed. And we'll go on to ordinance 2016-10, an ordinance submitting to the qualified voters of the Petersburg Borough the question of prohibiting the sale and importation of any marijuana and any marijuana product, and the operation of any marijuana establishment, including all of the following license types: retail marijuana store, marijuana cultivation facility, marijuana product manufacturing facility, and marijuana testing facility within the Petersburg Borough on the October 4, 2016 municipal election ballot. Do we need to specify that this regulates the licensed facilities, or we just leave it just like this with all, even though?
I think we have to leave it pretty much like it was, like the petition came forward.
I'll entertain a motion. Oh, we have to discuss whether we're going to put it on the regular ballot or a special election, which would be 3 days later?
Yeah, well, we need a motion, I think, first to accept.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
To entertain a motion.
Go ahead.
Madam Mayor?
Madam Mayor? So in the text of the ordinance, it does state that the vote will take place on October 4th. So if you pass this ordinance, it will be in the regular election.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a moved and second. The clerk will call the roll.
Discussion?
I thought we were already discussing it. All right, any more discussion?
Well, the only thing I'd have to say is that I'm in favor of putting it on the regular ballot, but I also haven't changed my mind on my original vote, so I believe that is correct, and I'm about the same place Jay is that if we continue like we are, it's quite, marijuana is quite available in Petersburg. It always has been. When my kids went to school here in the 80s, it hasn't changed. And all we're doing now is bringing it above board, and it can go both ways. So I'd vote in favor of putting it on the ballot, but I haven't changed my original vote.
I agree, and I'd also like to reiterate what Jay said, that it's still going to be legal. People can still grow their own in their home in limited amounts and consume in their home in limited amounts or whatever they grow. So I, too, will be voting to okay this, but my opinion about allowing regulated facilities still stands the same. Jay?
As a side note to this, would it be October 3rd or the 3 days later option? I'll definitely be voting to put it on October 3rd just because I don't think it'd be fair to make the voters, the people of Petersburg, pay over $10,000, if that's a reasonable number, something over that, to have a special election. But the reason we're actually able to have it right now is both Clerks Thompson and Clerk Swihart have put in an extraordinary amount of effort so that we actually have an option to put it on the October 4th. Is that the day?
Correct.
Thank you. So thank you guys for that, to save the people of Petersburg a significant amount of money. But I'll definitely be voting to put it on here for that reason.
And myself too, I feel dismayed that we're put into a position where we need to discount the decision of the voters who turned out for the initial election. I feel the implementation of this ordinance will not curb the black market, and it has the commercial sale of marijuana in town has a great opportunity to increase revenue to our community, with potential revenues initially beginning anywhere between $40,000 and $80,000 a year, and could potentially be higher than that. And as many benefits as I see possible for this community, I also feel it would be grossly fiscally irresponsible to call for a special election. So I will also be voting for the election on October 4th.
Kurt or Cindy, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I just want to reiterate everything that has been said, particularly about regulation and taxation. And I also am concerned about the amount of misinformation that has been circulating about marijuana. I'm not a major marijuana proponent, but this is an opportunity that some people are interested in. The voters of Alaska have voted for it. The only reason I'm voting for this ordinance is to save the borough money.
Kurt?
Well, as you guys all well know, I wish it would have gone down a little bit differently, but this is what ends up happening when we don't, listen to people wanting options. So I too will be voting for this. And I've told everybody that that asked me to about this initiative that where I really stood on this issue, but this is the way it's going to go down, I guess. So we'll see what happens.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Anything else? The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Mayor, before I call,
Pardon?
would you please tell me who moved and who seconded?
I believe, was it Jay and Bob? Bob moved and Eric seconded?
Okay, yep.
Okay. Now I'll call the roll. Cindy?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Kurt?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, it passes unanimously. Where am I? Resolution 2016-15, a resolution expressing a deep sense of urgency for the state of Alaska State Legislature to take immediate action during the 5th special election for the 29th legislature to pass all necessary fiscal legislation required to provide for a fair, balanced, and sustainable state budget. They've already gavelled out. Are we still going to deal with this, or? I guess we should have amended the agenda. I'll entertain a motion. So it dies for lack of a motion. How's that?
Okay.
Nancy,
Yeah?
I'm confused. Did we vote for all three marijuana ordinances at the same time, or have we jumped ahead in our agenda?
No? What,
Madam Mayor, if I might. Cindy, those were for the third and final readings. We voted on ordinance 06, 07, and 08, and then this right here is the new business for 10, ordinance 20.
I'm sorry, I got out of order.
okay, Resolution 2016-16, a resolution authorizing additional paving on borough streets. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
It'll be nice when it's done.
Yes, it will be. The clerk will call the roll.
Kurt?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
It passes unanimously. Resolution 2016-17, a resolution opposing a state sales tax and favoring a state income tax. I'll entertain a motion to approve this.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Moved by Cindy, seconded by Eric. Is there any discussion?
The only discussion I have is that I was involved with Alaska Municipal League when we looked at the options available to us. I totally support going with a income tax rather than a sales tax for quite a number of reasons. When you look at the state of Alaska, one of the things you have is a lot of the smaller communities, like similar size to Petersburg, even smaller, have a sales tax in place, whereas a lot of your bigger municipalities do not. And so what happens is that if you put an additional 3% or 6% from the state on top of what we have, that would put our local sales tax in at 9% or higher, depends on where the state come out. And that would affect all the smaller communities in Alaska that currently have a sales tax. Whereas if you went with an income tax then reaches out to all those, even those who make their income in Alaska, but then take that out of state. Quite a difference. A lot of your larger communities favor only sales tax versus a income tax. And the income tax could be established at a certain level, i.e., for instance, anything over $10,000, anything made over $10,000, what have you. And with the governor's proposal, I think it said about the average in the state of Alaska would be about $400. And so I am totally in favor of this resolution because it really, I think, hurts the smaller communities here in Alaska, and particularly I think it would have a much major effect here in Petersburg, raising our sales tax rate to at least 9%, I believe, our 6% plus another 3% or more. At any rate, that's the way I see it.
Thank you. Jay?
I think Member Lynn said that quite well. I would just add one piece that of why I agree with this resolution is sales taxes are regressive, and for those of us who don't know regressive taxes, they hurt people on the lowest end of the income spectrum the most. And just on an ethical level, I have a problem with that. Doesn't seem equitable to me. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Any other discussion? I'm under the understanding that the amount you pay in state income tax is deductible from your federal income tax. That's the way it is. So it doesn't seem like any increase of anything you're paying. It's just who you're paying it to. So the clerk will call the roll.
Eric?
Nancy?
Yeah, Kurt, go ahead.
I'm sorry, was that still going to be 3% of your tax liability to the feds? Is that how that works still?
For the sales tax, if the state charges 3%.
And by income tax, I thought at one time they were talking about it being a tax associated with my tax liability with the federal government. That's still what they have in the works there.
I don't know, since they haven't even discussed it at the state level, we don't know what it'll be.
Okay, thank you.
Kurt, if I can answer, the governor's proposal was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jody, was a state sales tax of 3% on across the state of Alaska. That would be, if you could keep track of it, I think that'd be deductible on your federal tax, but it's an additional tax.
Okay, I thought the state income tax was going to be based upon whatever your tax liability was to the federal government. So, all right, I'll look into it a little bit more. Thank you.
Well, you're talking something different than I am, and you're right about if you're looking at an income tax, you are correct.
Anybody else?
Nancy, just to clarify, Kurt, you're correct, that was part of the discussion, but it was never put forward as into law. It was just an initial discussion about how to handle an income tax. The legislature moved away from that discussion.
right, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? The clerk will call the roll.
Eric,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Kurt.
Yes.
Okay, approval of Pump Station 1 and Force Main Upgrade Phase 1, change order number 2. Chris, do you want to, or we have to make a motion before we can discuss it, right?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Do you need to explain this to us?
Well, I thought I covered it pretty well in the memo, but I can sure come up and answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions? Pump
No.
Station 1 is on South Nordic somewhere?
Chris Cotta, Assistant Public Works Director. The pump station upgrade project that we have ongoing is actually upgrading 2 pump stations and the force sewage main that goes between the 2. And so, so pump station 1 is by Ace Electronics, and that's where the force main starts. And right now it goes through the South Harbor on the beach. In a couple places it's exposed and it's rotting away, so we wanted to replace it with a force main that runs under the street. And we're doing that in conjunction with DOT's project, so, to take advantage of the fact that they have the road torn up anyway. Pump Station 2 is the one that's by the Crane Dock parking lot. And so we are, as part of relocating that force main, we're upgrading both pump stations. The pumping equipment was old, the controls were old, and we're changing the alignment of the force main a little bit, so we're changing the flow characteristics of the force main. So so all that is ongoing right now, and this change order that's in front of you is actually for work that was done by DOT last year, and we've been in a very drawn-out negotiation process with them because they essentially wanted to charge us a lot more than what we felt was fair. So even though the work's been done, we've been negotiating with them, trying to come up with a cost that everybody could live with. And so, as stated in the memo, it's they want us to pay $146,000, and we got them down. We appreciate the concessions they made. We got them down to about 86. And this was for, the biggest part of that cost was for, when we're excavating under the road, we just found a lot more mud and organic material than we thought we were going to find. And so to take that material away and then replace it with rock, adds money to the contract. So anyway, that's the biggest part of the cost. And there were some other issues that came up, some things that didn't match up in the design. We had some contractor delays because of issues encountered that weren't exactly what we thought they were going to be in the plans, and there's some administrative cost that figures into this, but all told, we feel that the $86,000 is a fair price for all the additional work that was done, and so we're recommending that it be approved.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Well, thank you for knocking it down from 140 something.
Thanks.
Thanks. The clerk will call the roll.
Nancy,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Cindy.
Yes.
Okay, consideration of special use permit. Rose Dunham has a The Planning Commission is recommending approval of the applicant Roseanne Dunham's request for a special use permit to construct and maintain a driveway on the Baranoff Street right-of-way, which would provide access to the backyard at 223 South Nordic Drive. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, the clerk will call the roll.
Cindy,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Bob.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. And the Planning Commission is recommending approval of applicant Tom Greenlee's request for a special use permit to construct and maintain a driveway on the Koenigs Lane right-of-way, which would provide access for development of private land. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? The clerk will call the roll.
Eric,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Bob.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Cool.
Discussion items. Are there any recognitions?
Nancy?
Yes?
Here. Yeah, I think we would be remiss here if we did not thank the community of
Oh,
Franklin
wait,
for their
wait.
outpouring of love on during this tragedy during the 4th of July. I mean, they had a couple of nice letters to the editor, and they also did a walk over in Wrangell in honor of those unfortunate individuals. So, I mean, I would like to applaud Wrangell.
Thank you. And I've forgotten the doc questionnaire. We're still looking for questionnaires about the state dock issue, Papke's, Kupernoff, and Entrance Island. And those questionnaires are available in borough offices on the borough website, at the city clerk or mayor of Kupernoff, and out at the Papke's bulletin board. If anybody would, and you can turn them into city offices or borough offices, and we've only had 20 completed so far. Okay, now the recognition. Sorry, Kurt.
Nancy, before you move on, I think we need to thank all those people who did respond. I thought there was some really thoughtful comments in those letters and stuff, we've read them. At least I've read all of them to date. And again, we also encourage everybody to comment on those. And as I say, there's been some really good comments to date. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we're back to recognitions. Did you have something, Cindy?
Just a small thing. I wasn't in town when the accident happened or for the response, but I did see the traffic on Facebook about the Alaska Airlines plane dipping its wings over the memorial service. That little gesture was so well received in the community. I wanted to acknowledge Alaska Airlines' respect of the family and the community.
Thank you. Anybody else have any recognitions? Discussion about Kupernoff, Papke's Landing, and Entrance Island docks. An email from local resident Tim Kahneman was received by Clerk Thompson and the Assembly that contains a list of questions regarding the issue of whether or not to accept ownership of state-owned dock facilities at Kupernoff, Papke's Landing, and Entrance Island. Some of the questions prompt assembly discussion and are highlighted in the attached copy of the email for reference. So, can we just discuss this since it's up for discussion? Anybody have anything to say? Have you all read those questions?
Just a question. Would it be appropriate, Mindy, to take some of the answers to the questions that were there and put them on our website on our part that where we're asking for comments? Because I thought there was a lot of work done on it to answer some of the questions, and I thought they were very appropriate questions that might also change people's view of how they might respond.
Hey,
Is that possible?
I can look at putting it on there.
Thank you.
Do you feel people would want to be noticed anonymously, or would they want their names attached to it? Is it for the answers?
I don't know the answer to that, but it's public information now as far as there's no reason the person's name has to be on it. I mean, we can put the questions up and the responses to them. I thought there was a lot of work, done to answer those questions that probably needs to be put out there in better form.
Okay.
Yeah, just to echo that comment, I know reading through the 20 letters we've received and the feedback associated with it, it's more than given me pause and given me pretty different perspective sometimes, reading some of it, definitely many thinking points, and I think what you're saying, Bob, makes complete sense. Maybe we can all learn from these letters, I guess is a short answer.
Yes.
It's a good idea to put them on the website.
Nancy?
Yes? Go ahead.
In response to Tim's questions, I went back and was looking over the new Borough Comprehensive Plan and the Waterfront Plan, and Tim is asking, are we putting this priority over that priority? Lay out what our goals are in the Waterfront Master Plan, but we also say we'll look to take advantage of opportunities. When this initially was proposed, it did look like an opportunity. With the failure of the legislature to come up with a viable budget for the state, I think the question is being answered whether we want it to be or not. So we can discuss this, but I think the reality is we can't afford to adopt those harbors and docks at this time, and we can continue to have the discussion, but the money just isn't there.
Kurt, do you have anything to add? Well, I agree wholeheartedly with Cindy. There's no money to take these over. There's no money to repair them. The state doesn't even apparently have any money to repair them. I don't know where they think we're going to get the money it's going to take to repair them. The figures that were mentioned earlier are almost $3 million. So, anyway, any more discussion about this? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right.
Second? Adjourn.